Okay, cool. We are live. Hello and welcome to the Feel Inspired podcast, everyone. My name is Amit Sodha. Today is something a bit different. I know normally the theme of the day is various areas of personal development, but I do feel that sometimes we've got to take on board something a bit different, something that's going to help a wider community, and also specifically in this case, some very special individuals as well. So before I introduce my guest, once again, my name is Amit Sodha. You're watching live on Facebook, on YouTube, and later on at some point in the next few hours, this will be available on all major podcasting platforms. So once again, I just want to welcome you all to the Feel Inspired podcast. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'll welcome our two guests. We've actually got two guests today as well, even though I only advertised one. We have one who just gate crashed and just decided to join for no apparent reason, but we couldn't say no. He's just such a handsome fella, so we decided to say, yeah, come on board, it's all good. So let me firstly let you know exactly what we're talking about today. So we have a wonderful lady by the name of Kirpa, and I hope I'm saying that name correctly, by the way. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. She has a beautiful baby boy, and I think he's still, correct me if I'm wrong, he's still 3? He's 4 now. But he does have a rare condition for which he is in dire need of a specific donor. And so his mother has started this campaign, and she's kind of raised a lot of awareness actually as well. And a lot of people around the world have started becoming donors, because I think that this is in particular a problem on the Asian community, but not only the Asian community, I think as a whole. Being a donor for situations like this is such a wonderful and powerful thing to do. But I'm not going to share too much. I'm not going to give away too much yet, because I want to hear Kirpa's story as well. So firstly, and we've also got, by the way, Darshan as well, whose daughter had something similar, and he ended up being a donor for his daughter. So we're going to hear his story very shortly as well. But first off, I'm going to hand over to Kirpa and welcome her to the Feel Inspired podcast, and of course Darshan as well.
Thank you.
So Kirpa, this is obviously quite a tough subject for you, but I think it's also quite a good way for you to reach out to people and kind of get your message out there as well. So what I would like to ask you is give us a kind of a bit of a background of your story, who you are, what's been going on in your world in the last few years, and how you've got to this point now as well. What have you been doing to get yourself to this point in terms of getting the word out there? How has it reached so far? And then we'll kind of do a bit of a deeper dive as well. So feel free to introduce yourself as well in the most glamorous way possible. Go for it, do a dance, song, whatever you want. It's all good. So over to you.
Okay, so yes, thanks for the introduction, Amit, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Kirpa. We live in Harrow. I'm, me, my husband, my daughter Suhani, and Veer, who you'll be hearing more about. So Veer is 4, Suhani is 6, and we're a regular family. We had, until this time last year, we were doing regular things. In fact, we were on holiday, enjoying the sunshine, and a few months later after that, things had changed for us. So in August last year, we found out about our son having this rare genetic disorder called Fanconi anemia, which we've never heard of. Most of the people that we've talked to have never heard of it. It's really, really rare. Only 100 families in the UK have this disorder. And it literally came as a shock to us. We had no idea. We didn't really even think he was unwell. He's a normal, he was 3 at that time. So he's a normal 3-year-old, full of energy, so active. You cannot tell that anything is wrong with him, but unfortunately there is, yeah. So we found out in August that he had this rare condition. The reason why and how we found out was purely by chance. We had a period the Christmas before, so a few months before, we found out that he was overly tired. Like he would we really struggled getting him to nursery. He was just really, really lethargic, and we just didn't know why. And it wasn't normal for him. But you know, you just think, oh, they haven't slept well. It's winter. They're always unwell with colds, and it was his first winter in nursery, so it's kind of expected that they're going to pick up bugs, right?
Yeah, and it's always easy to make that assumption as well, right? It's so easy to just be basic sad or you know anything like that, right? So
exactly,
and overlook what is something so incredible.
Yeah, we didn't want to kind of think that anything was wrong. We just thought, yeah, it's just a normal 3-year-old. And then, oh, he was 2 at that time. Yeah, it's a normal 2-year-old. And then we went to nursery, had a meeting with his nursery teacher, and even she said, you know what, we're always a little bit more worried about him. Maybe he's anemic, maybe he needs a blood test. And thankfully she said that to us, so we went to the GP. We got his blood tested, and the GP were really concerned about his bloods. His blood counts are all really, really low, and from then on we had various referrals, and in the end we ended up at Great Ormond Street, where we came to the conclusion that he had this condition. And honestly, in the back of our heads, we just thought all this time, even though all these observations and investigations were going on, we just thought, because by then he'd recovered, he was back to his normal bouncy self, chirpy self. Like, so in the back of our heads, we just thought, oh, this is just probably, you know, a one-time viral bug that he's had that's affected his blood counts, and that's it. So when we got the news that actually this is way more serious than anemia, it's huge, because it means that he has got a life-limiting disorder. And as you can imagine, that's obviously really hard to hear, that that he has such a condition.
Of course. If you need a minute, it's okay. We can just take a moment. It's absolutely fine. I think anyone, and especially any parent out there watching this, is going to be feeling you right now.
Yeah.
And you okay?
I mean, yeah. Sorry, I'll carry on. And it's just, it is literally that. It's like I was saying, we were a normal family. We were doing normal things, and literally overnight, our life had changed. And it's hard, isn't it? It's hard when if it's yourself, you can kind of deal with such news in a way. But like when it's your own child, and when he's only 3, you just think, you know, why does it have to happen to him? Why couldn't it happen to one of us? Like, it was hard. It was hard to kind of come to terms with it and get our heads around what situation we were in. So anyway, we got this news, and we had to tell our family, which was also very difficult, breaking such news about, you know, about someone they love. And we had to kind of then start researching, because we were given this leaflet by the hospital, which had told us that it's a really rare genetic disorder, and that most of these people that have this don't make it until their teens. So to come to terms with the fact that we may not have a lot more time with our son was really difficult. Anyway, we researched and looked into it a lot more, and it was good to kind of understand more about it. And we were very lucky that at the time that we found out, there's a charity called Fanconi Hope, which is just an amazing charity, and we got in touch with them, and they had arranged a conference in September. So we found out in August, and in September, so a month later, they had a conference for all the families that have this condition around the country. And it was a whole weekend where we were able to learn more about the condition, meet other families who were going through the same thing. And it was really, really good to find out more about this condition and see kind of what we are facing, what we have to deal with. But also, I mean, it was a lot of information to take in a month of, one, dealing with the fact that your life has changed, but also to learn about something and figure out how you're going to deal with this as parents. So anyway, that was September. And then in October, while all this was going on, they checked our daughter Suhani to see if she had this condition, because it's genetic. So luckily we found out she didn't have this condition, but they also checked her blood to see if she was a match for Veer, because with this condition, Veer will need to have a bone marrow transplant. At some point, his condition means that his bone marrow is not functioning properly and he's not producing enough stem cells. And so at some point, he will go into bone marrow failure and need a transplant. So in some ways, lucky for us, we have some advance notice on this. So he was 3 when we found out, and they're predicting that he will need this when he's around 6. Could be sooner, could be later, but we have a little bit of time. So anyway, they checked his sister's bloods, and his sister wasn't a match. So the sibling is 25% chance that sibling would be a match for him, and that was our best chance of having a match. And unfortunately, she wasn't a match. So then they look at the national and international stem cell registers of all the people that have already registered as stem cell donors. And this is not just in the UK, this is a global register. Wow. So anyone that registers as a stem cell donor gets put on this international register. There are millions of people on this register. And we found out in October that not one of them is a match for him. This is how difficult this situation is. There are millions of people on this register, and not one of them has the same makeup as him. And so then we realized how big a situation we're in. Like, to find someone that is a match for him is going to be a very difficult situation.
And that was it, you said in October, right?
Yeah, so we found out about his condition in August 2019, and then in October we realized that we had to kind of start searching for a match, for a donor for him. So then we kicked off the campaign, Help Veer Now, which hopefully people have heard of. And our amazing friends and family got together, we formed a committee, and we've tried to kind of spread the word, spread the message to Asian people around the world. We've created our social media pages, Help Veer Now. So we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we wanted to educate people and kind of raise the awareness of this, because a lot of people actually we've spoken to are not aware of this. And, you know, there've been a couple of campaigns that I'd heard of before we knew about Veer. Kaya Patel was a really huge one. And then there was another girl called Sheena Shah, who we had heard of before we even knew that Veer had a similar condition to them. And so even though that they'd done all this work, they had done so much work to get Asians in the UK to register, it still hasn't really, it's still not enough, and we still need to do more. And so yeah, we set up this campaign. We made a campaign video and a website, which is helpveernow.org. And this website was basically made so that we can put everything in one place and make it really easy for people to find one place where they can find out information. So on the website, you can find out a little bit about Veer, about his story, about our story. You can see how to register. So we've tried to lay it out really clearly so that depending on which country you're in, it will connect you to the right charity where you can register. So we've got the links for UK, India, America, different countries there. And then depending on your age and whether your health conditions, you can then register on there. It sends you directly to the link, and you just register and you can get a swab kit sent to your home. And all it takes is a cheek swab, basically. It's a really simple way of registering. And then if you are a match for someone, you would then be contacted, and then you would be contacted on what would happen next. So basically, we tried to get the message out that way via website, via social media. We launched our video, which kind of talks about Veer and about the process and about how easy it is to try and get people to see, you know, what this is. Okay, yes, it's Veer is in need of a donor, but there are so many people like Veer who are in need of a donor. So Caucasian people, when they need a donor, more often than not, they have a donor ready and waiting. If they need it urgently, they will have someone there who is a match for them and already, you know, ready to go. Whereas for Asians, that's not the case. So if you're an Asian, you only have a 20% chance of finding a match. If you're a Caucasian, that is you have a 70% chance. There's such a big difference there. And the reason is because there's not enough Asians on this register. So that was what our campaign was trying to achieve, is trying to raise awareness amongst Asians. And we went to the tabloids. We had Anthony Nolan, who's a charity that's been helping us. We connected with Anthony Nolan, DKMS. They're the UK charities. We connected with Datri, DKMS in India. We connected with Be The Match and DKMS in America. And all of them have supported us and helped us kind of think about how we can spread this message further. And we managed to get into the national papers. We've been on the radio. We've also been on TV, just trying to share this message and trying to engage people into the campaign and kind of making them aware of this issue. And like I said, it's not just to help Veer, but there are so many people who are in need of it. People who have, Veer doesn't have cancer, but there are people that have leukemia. And by having a successful bone marrow transplant, you can delete their cancer. Like that's how amazing this thing is. It's like you hear about so many people having cancers and other genetic disorders that can't be fixed, but this can be fixed. You can help people with leukemia or other blood cancers, and you can get rid of that cancer for them by a simple cheek swab. And so that's the kind of messages that we wanted to get across. Then we realized, as time went on, by January, we kind of realized that actually just talking to people, just by someone hearing it on the radio, or it doesn't really always connect to people, right? Like you need to try and find a way of people really understanding this. And just going to the papers, I don't think people were really connecting to our story or the campaign. And we realized that you need to make it really easy for people to want to do this and to get that information, because people are not informed, and it's not necessarily easy for people to make these kind of big decisions. So we then started to go to different organizational events, and we sent a message to our friends and family, and they shared it wider, and we managed to get 100 people who offered to volunteer for us. And we had lots of swab drives arranged in different community events local to us. We tried to tap into the Midland Hub, Bedford Hub, all the other different hubs around the country were trying to help us. And we actually managed to recruit hundreds of donors that way. And we went to our local schools, and like people have been really, really receptive and really wanting to help us. And the community support has just been amazing. And similar things have been happening in America and in India. So one of our cousins in India has been leading our campaign there. And in India, in one event, you can get hundreds of people. We've had swab events happening at people's weddings, which has just been amazing. And in hotel chains, like one of our cousins who has hotels in Goa has had registered over like 700 or 800 registrations. So it was all going really well. We were gaining momentum, and then unfortunately coronavirus hit, and it meant that we were not able to carry on in that way. So
I'll pause you there, because that was an important question I was going to get to as well, actually. So, and I'll just give you a moment to catch your breath as well, because that's a lot of information. And I don't know about anyone else, but I had like about 100 questions going along there. So, by the way, just for anyone who's just joined us on the live streams, this is a lovely lady by the name of Kirpa, and she has a son who's 4 years old, who is in dire need of a stem cell donor. And so we're just hearing her story, and it's incredible. And to think this lady was a little bit nervous, and and you don't come across as nervous at all, by the way, but also incredibly brave as well, just for putting it out there and trying your best to, build the awareness as well, which is amazing in itself as well, because you're not just helping your son, you're helping other people as well, and other families, and potentially other children as well, and parents who are also in the same boat as you, who are trying to find donors for their children. I did have one specific question as well, so we'll continue where we left off, where you were talking about COVID, so we'll come back to that. But there was one thing specific, like I wanted to understand better, because I didn't know this with what you just said about finding an Asian donor. So for your son, it has to be an Asian donor. Is that right?
So it doesn't have to be an Asian donor. It's just that his chances of finding a match it's more likely to happen with an Asian person. So there have been people, so I think Kaya Patel, her match actually didn't end up being an Asian person. But his chances, and other Asians like him, their chances will massively increase if more Asians are on the register.
Gotcha. I understand. Yeah. I understand. We'll just take a moment as well, give you a chance to catch your breath as well. We'll introduce Darshan as well, because you've been through something very similar. So it'd be nice to share your story of what you've been through, and you're on the other side of it now as well. So it'd be nice to hear how you've got to this point as well, what you did on your journey. So feel free to introduce yourself and explain what, your backstory of what you went through with your daughter, wasn't it? It was your daughter, wasn't it? Yeah. So please, introduce yourself and fire away.
Cool, thanks, Amit. So yeah, real sort of similar story to Kirpa, really. A regular family. We were going to be we became first-time parents in summer 2018, and Anika was born in June time. And the following weeks were sort of typical, late nights, not knowing what we're doing, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of exhaustion and stuff, and everything was going fine. And then I think it was sort of late July, August that Anika, she spiked temperature, and we just thought, oh, this is a bit odd, and the temperature just wouldn't come down. So we went to our local hospital, and we just thought, we'll go there for an hour or so. They'll have a quick look over and send us back home. But it turned out that we spent about a week in our local hospital. Doctors didn't really know what to do about the temperature, just wouldn't come down. And sort of from going in just for a checkup to becoming one of the sort of sickest patients on the children's ward was quite hard to see, especially when she was only, about 6, 7, 8 weeks old. It turned out that she also had an underlying immune condition, which no one knew about, but it deteriorated quite badly. So then we got transferred to Great Ormond Street pretty much overnight. She spent about a week in ICU. While she was getting diagnosed with a condition, and that was quite tough, going from new parent to being told your daughter's got a diagnosis which you can't control. And I guess similar to what Kirpa mentioned, like it's got a whole bunch of questions going in your head around what's going on, why has this happened, and then you sort of go into this period of looking at the facts, what's out there, what's a cure, and all that kind of stuff. So then we basically spent a couple of weeks at Great Ormond Street. We got discharged home, and they were making regular visits there for treatment. But the doctors did tell us that her condition had stabilized, but her long-term cure was a bone marrow transplant. And so we were just going through her maintenance treatment, and we had a couple of hours with a consultant at Great Ormond Street, which actually explained that she needed a stem cell transplant pretty quickly. And there was no, they did the usual search on the donor registries, but there was no match for her. So that was quite tough. And I think similar to what Kirpa mentioned, it's really tough to sort of process that, because you sort of think there's millions of people on these registers globally, and not one of them is a match for her. So then the doctors, I think on balance of risk, they just said, we need to do a transplant for her, just, given the severity of her condition. And so they tested me, and I was a 50% match as a parent, and they said we just have to go with it. So we just went with it, not knowing what the outcome would be or anything like that. And in terms of my process of becoming a donor, really straightforward. I got tested, and had a few medical checks, and I guess I think the good thing I actually noticed was that medical team was there all the way. If I had any questions about what's going to happen, what the process was, that was all made really clear to me. So then in November, I actually went in for the donation process. I donated my stem cells in UCL Hospital in London. It took a couple of hours. I'm not sure if people are familiar with this, but it was a similar process to donating blood. Took a couple of hours. They harvested the stem cells, and I was out by the afternoon. And the next day, Anika had a transplant. So it was quite sort of really crazy to see, actually, just donating one day and then having the transplant the next day. And because she was so small, they had to do the transplant over 2 days because they couldn't sort of pump her up with too many cells in one go. So that was sort of November time, and then we spent a couple of months in hospital, which were quite tough, if I'm honest. A lot of isolation, not many people being able to see her apart from me and my wife and sort of grandparents initially. But eventually, we did get discharged. We spent a lot of time at home, again in isolation, and just let her recover. It was serious, it's quite a serious procedure, and she had a long sort of ride with it, but here we are. She's going to be 2 next month, and you wouldn't think she's had a transplant. Her medication's reduced significantly, which is great. She's due to start nursery next month as well. So there is hope, and I think I just want to echo a couple of things that Kirpa mentioned. That Veer's got that condition, and my daughter had another immune condition. But so the power of these stem cell transplants are, cancers. It's an opportunity to delete cancers for someone. It's giving people new lives as such, I would say. So that was our story. And I guess the key thing from my perspective was totally appreciate, Kirpa, how difficult it is to understand, what's going on in terms of what the medical team's telling you, going from that to needing a transplant, going that to not finding a donor. And I think, the more people we can get registered as donors, it will just help other families in this position. It will make it easier for them, no doubt at all. And the more people we can get on the registers and donating, I think surely that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's quite interesting as well is that someone, Anita, just left a comment saying, Asians cremate and believe if any part left on earth, the body won't reach heaven or the soul won't rest. That's quite interesting as well, because I think there are some archaic ideas out there as well. But I think more and more, I'm pretty sure more and more that isn't the case, and people are a lot more open-minded about donor. And it's such a simple process as well. This is because it's not a question of that you're, myself, I'm going to die and I have to wait till that point to donate or anything like that. Whereas actually I have put myself on a donation register. So if I do pass away, then I'm happy for someone to have my parts. If it can save someone's life, great. But it is an interesting concept as well, and it makes me wonder about how things are in India and so on and so forth. But it was just an interesting comment, and I thought it was worth sharing. But it's a beautiful story, and yours has obviously had a very happy ending so far, and we can obviously now hope and pray that the same is for Veer as well. So thank you so much for sharing your story, by the way. It's a pleasure to have you on board. And I'll just take a segue moment as well, just to say to anyone watching this as well, share the video, because, if you're sitting there right now and you're watching this, just click on the share button, because all it takes is one person, one family member, one friend to see this, think, it's not that hard to go and donate. I'll do it. As soon as lockdown is over and we're able to, I'll go donate. I'll make a priority to do it. And then it happens, and they could end up being that person. They could end up being the correct match. And like you said, Kirpa, it's so harmless as well. I did mine a few months back before lockdown, and it literally took 5 minutes to go to, I went to Adi and Aman's opticians as well. So New Vision Opticians in Rayners Lane. They were doing a drive, and I went there, saw Aman. He was helping me with the old swab test, making sure I did it right, just observing me that I don't mess anything up. And it was done. It was done within 5 minutes, and it was so easy. So for anyone out there who's feeling afraid as well, and I think also as well that your example, Darshan, as well, that showing that actually it's very painless, it's very easy to do as well. If you end up being a match, it's not something that you have to be scared of or afraid of. It's just like donating blood. So coming back to you, Kirpa, as well, because you kind of ended and we were talking about, you were getting to the point about talking about how everything happening right now has affected you, because that was going to be my next question, actually, which is about, with everything happening, firstly, are people still in a position to donate? Is there still places that are open that people can do that? But what has it meant for you in general, you as a family, in terms of being on lockdown, and also probably the reduction in number of stem cell donors and so on and so forth? So give us your take on this.
So just to say that you can still register, even though you're in lockdown. You don't have to go anywhere to do it. So if you go to the website, and you can register via any of the charities. So if you're over 16 years old or under 55, so between the ages of 16 and 55, in the UK, you can register on either Anthony Nolan website or DKMS. And if you register, they'll basically ask you some questions to check if you're eligible. So if you're relatively good health, and then they'll send you the kit straight to your home via the post. You do your cheek swab, which is just three swabs. Rub it inside your mouth, put it back in the envelope once it's dried, and then you send it back, and that's it. You're registered. So you don't actually have to go anywhere. You can do it on your sofa. It's so easy. You just need to go on the website and register. And if you're listening from other countries, you need to just find out which is your local charity or registration place to do that. So that's it. I think now is the perfect time to do it. I think people may have more time not going out and not having the social life that they used to. And I think there's so many things that are happening in the world with coronavirus. I'm sure we've all seen all the devastating things that are happening, and we're helpless, right? There's not much that you can do to kind of fix those kind of situations, but this is something that people can do and can change and can make a difference, because the problem of the lack of Asian stem cell donors and the lack of donors in general is in our hands. It's in everyone's hands. I know today we're talking about our kids, like Darshan's daughter and my son, but you don't know what's around the corner. And that's what I've definitely learned, is that you don't know what's around the corner. It's affecting us today, but tomorrow, unfortunately, it could be someone in your family, and you might not. I mean, we're lucky that we have a bit of time to find Veer's match. Darshan didn't have that time. He had to make a decision there and then. And so you would want it to be that if it was anyone that you were close to, that they have a match ready and waiting. And the only way that we would do that is if people register today. Really, that's all I can say. And it's so easy. So even though coronavirus is the main thing going on right now, it doesn't stop you from registering. Even if you might have had the virus, or you think you've got it, or you're worried about getting it, that doesn't mean that you can't register. To register, it doesn't affect registration. You can still register, and then if you are a match for someone, they would check whether you've had coronavirus or not. Because a lot of people have asked us that, and I think lots of people think that because of coronavirus, it's not the time to be registering, but you can. So yes, I think that's.
What about you in general in terms of this whole period? I assume that does that mean, actually, has it meant for you that for Veer's sake as well? Does he mean he's in a high risk category? Does he have you guys had to stay more isolated than everyone else?
Yes. So just one more thing that I forgot to say on the previous point is that the charities are, they have seen a massive reduction in registrations, and that is because of coronavirus, and that's because of all these swab events that usually do happen in all around the country are not happening. So you don't need to go anywhere to register, so please do it now. So yes, so Veer is in the extremely vulnerable category because his blood counts are so low. His risk of catching an infection is he has a really, really high chance of getting infections and viruses, and so he's off nursery and he's at home, and all of us are having to stay at home. We're basically not going to work. My daughter's not going to go back to school next week, just to kind of keep him safe and keep him well. Because if he was to catch it, we don't really know. We don't know how severe it would be for him. So we're just obviously being cautious and enjoying our time at home. Really, not able to go out, and we're appreciating our back garden a lot, which we've noticed a lot of things that we've never really noticed about our garden, and we're making the most of our time together, because I guess we know that our time could be limited, so we're just making the most of this time and making the best of a bad situation, I guess.
It's beautifully brave of you to say that as well. I think what you just said at the end as well, because, you know, I just taking a slight twist on a spiritual note, because I've experienced a lot of loss in my life, and I think that you know, death is going to come to us all. It's not about when, it's about how we live, and living the most and just enjoying the most. And you can cram a lifetime's worth of experiences with Veer Now. And of course, hoping that isn't the case, and he gets a long life, he gets married, has kids, has all the pain of being a parent and sleepless nights and all the rest of it as well. And I'm fairly certain that that's going to happen. But I just want to say, I think it's amazingly brave of you to just, you know, to keep putting yourself out there and fighting the good cause and doing what you have to do for who is an amazing young boy as well. How is he kind of, is he aware at all of what's happening and what's happening to him? And because I think back to when I was about 2-3 years old, and I think to myself that I knew a lot more than people would give me credit for. As a kid, you kind of treat everyone like, you treat the child as a 3-year-old, but they're actually more aware than we realize. Do you think he's in that situation as well?
So he was, he was 3 when we found out, and I don't really think he didn't really understand. He's a 3-year-old. He didn't really understand what was going on around him. I think maybe my daughter, who's 6, Suhani, who's 6 now, but she was 5 then, we were probably a little bit more worried about her, because obviously it affects the whole family. Also, our nephew and niece, who are extremely close to Veer and who are a lot older, they were 9 and 13. So we were more worried about how we're going to break the news to them. I think we're lucky in a way that Veer is only 3, because to him, nothing is really different. I think he's going to grow up not knowing any different, and he's going to grow up with this. So I guess he won't necessarily know. But obviously, me and my husband are talking about it all the time, and they do take in, like you're saying, they do take in things. And one day, I'll just remember a time when Suhani and Veer were just playing on the sofa. They were just messing around as kids do, and suddenly, out of nowhere, Veer said the words Fanconi anemia. And this is a 3-year-old. We can't believe a 3-year-old would even be able to say it or know it, but he's obviously been listening to the term. And we'd asked him, Veer, what did you say? And he said, oh, Fanconi anemia. And we said, what does that mean? Do you know what that means? And he said that he knows that it means that he's not well. And that's when it struck us that, they do know, they are picking up on these things. They do listen to what mum and dad are saying and speaking about all the time, because obviously initially that was all we kind of talked about. It took over our life completely, and all our discussions were based around that. So it was quite hard to hear that he's taken that much in, but they're doing really well with it, and he understands. We try to kind of teach him to be positive and to know that he's brave and he will be fine and he will get through this. And like every day before he goes to sleep, we will remind him that sorry,
that's okay, you take your time.
We remind him that he's got a journey ahead of him, but he will be okay. And we don't want him to ever kind of doubt that he won't be okay. He is brave. His name, Veer, his name means brave, and he will be, and he'll get through this. And that's kind of what we keep for all of us. It's kind of good to have that positive kind of thinking, right? So we kind of try and focus on those things.
That's beautiful. Bless you. It must be so hard every time, even just talking about it to people. It's just constant. It must be so difficult for you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sunlight coming in my room here. Yeah, I think you know what, that is the hardest thing. I don't know, the people that know us, we're quite private. We don't do this. I I've never put my kids' photos on Facebook. Like, we wouldn't necessarily broadcast our life to people. We keep to ourselves. And it's obviously personal. It's a personal situation that we're going through. And I mean, if Suhani was a match for Veer, we may not have to have gone down this road of campaigning and telling everyone our story and literally opening our lives out to everyone. But you know what, looking back, I'm glad that we are, because like, we know that, yes, this is affecting our son, but you know, this is affecting so many people. And we're doing what we can to find Veer a match, but we also want it to be that everyone who needs one will find one. And so, although it's hard to kind of pour your heart out and speak like this so openly with everyone, but it has to be done, because people need to see that, you know, like, this is really affecting people. You can do simple things to save people's lives and help people like us. And you know, we have to kind of raise awareness of this issue. So it's hard, but we have to do it. And obviously, it's, when you speak to people, it's like, it's common conversation. You know, you can't get away from it. Basically, it's always there. People will ask you, and over time we've come to kind of deal with that. Like, it's okay now if people ask us, we can talk about it and it's okay. But initially it was a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah, I can completely imagine. And I'm going to say something now, which I think sometimes it's not always the best thing to say, but it's a true thing to say, and it's hard for some people to hear. And that is that there are probably people out there who, because I know I've done it in the past, and I'll admit openly, you see something like this, you see a video like this, you see a cause like this, and it's easy to think, I'll get to it, but then it's easily dismissed from our mind, and we never do anything. And we never know how much that means to someone taking that action until you're someone who's in that position, who has to then go through something like this. And I hope no one else, well, of course, there's going to be people who are going to go through it, but I hope anyone watching this doesn't have to go through something like this. But everyone watching right now can do just so much by just simply sharing, either sharing this video or share the website or share the flyer, or just have a quick chat with your family, 5-minute chat with your family today and say, look, you know what, we can be donors today. Let me order the kits. Let's all do it together as a family while we're at home, and let's get these sent off as well and add ourselves to the register. And for anyone who's afraid of doing that because of any sort of belief about donating some part of your body, I really think it's time to get with the times a little bit. That, look, that's very old school, ancient mentality. We live in a very modern world. Our understanding of the world and the universe is more advanced than it's ever been, and it's going to keep advancing. Donating something, a part of your body, is not going to change your status in any way, shape or form. And if anything, in my eyes, it's going to enhance it, if there is anything like that. And so to everyone out there, I say, now is the time to do it. You're at home. It's so simple. Order your testing kit, do it, see if you're a match, and you never know, you could end up being the person that saves this boy's life. And so yeah, so there's no reason not to. No reason for anyone out there not to just go and do it now, especially now. There's no, you don't have to go to hospital. Just order it online. It'll come to you, and you've just got to post it back. And that's the only effort you have to make. Wow, bless, what a story from both of you. It's incredible. And I was going to ask you one thing based on what you were saying as well. Does that mean as well that for excuse me, for now, for Veer, that he will have to stay out of school, nursery, and for his sister as well for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, we're not too sure. The advice, I guess, it's still, people are not sure. The consultants themselves are still gathering the evidence and trying to figure out actually how much risk it is to these patients and to families like us. So for now, we are thinking, at least until September, until we know more information, that we will stay indoors and not go to work and actually in the office until we know more, and send the kids to school. So yeah, I think time will tell, but there is a big chance, and unfortunately Veer was supposed to start school in September, and there is a big chance that he may not be able to do that. And that's obviously upsetting too, to know that he can't, you know, we want to keep things as normal as possible for him for as long as possible. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And yeah, I mean, the thing is, I think I'm upset about it, but they're quite happy at home. They're not complaining about not having to go to school, and they're not upset by it too much. And so I think they're enjoying the time with us. So, you know, it's okay.
Yeah, do you know what? When I was a kid, I was one of those kids that could not wake up for school. If I had the opportunity to stay at home, I would have grabbed it with my hands, and you would have had to wedge me out the door to get me back to school. I tell you, just would have been taken a miracle. Would have taken an absolute miracle. Wow, it's such a heart-wrenching story, but you know the story's not over, and I'm pretty. I don't know why I feel this. I feel so much faith that something's good, something amazing is going to come out of this, and that you're going to find the donor and the match that you need. And
thank you.
And yeah, and everything is going to be okay. Radhika's on as well, and she just said, can you share the link where people can order a kit, please? So I'm going to do that. If anyone watching right now, if you're seeing the live, in a short while, I will update the live videos with all the links, the relevant links. The website address is helpveernow.org, isn't it?
Yes, that's right.
And I'll add any other relevant links because I think they're all on that website as well, I believe.
Yeah.
And of course, as well, there's more you can do as well if you want to just donate to the charities, and obviously that money is going to be put to good use in finding better cures, better treatments, or whatever else they're doing as well. So there's so many ways to help, but starting point, share, register, and go do what, in my opinion, is a human duty.
Yes, I mean, just also, we've, you know, there was a virtual extravaganza organised by Radhika Maya a couple of weeks ago, and that's kind of opened up our eyes to how we can still, although we can't have swab events where we're going to organisations, there are still events that we can do virtually. So, you know, if anyone's listening, and if there are any corporate companies that would like us to come and deliver talks to your employees to kind of educate them on this and raise awareness, like, we'd be happy to do that. Also, if there are any virtual events that you're organising where we could have a slot to kind of talk about it and you know, share the awareness, then please do get in touch and let us know how we can virtually try and increase the numbers of registrations.
That's a good point. I made a note of that as well, actually. So I'll speak to people I know, and I'll get this out on LinkedIn as well, and see what traction we can get there as well. Because obviously it's easy to forego a platform like LinkedIn, but you know, there's a lot of corporate places that can also kind of help spread the word and just raise awareness and let people know that this option is there. They can do something incredible.
Yeah,
so
thank you.
Any last parting words you want to share with anyone? Because I feel like, you know, just to anyone who's just watching this video, just for 30 seconds, put yourself in those shoes and imagine what it would be like to be in that situation, parent or not, having a loved one, caring for a loved one, and not knowing in this case as well, constantly being in the unknown. You know, I imagine that's probably the greatest torture above all. But you know, just imagine yourself in that situation, put yourself in that shoes, and with that in mind, go do the donation as well. Go do the test, and register. So what about you? Any parting words?
I mean, I just wanted to say that, like, in the UK, there are only 2% of the population that are actually registered as stem cell donors. So, you know, that's a really shocking statistic. I can't believe that only 2% of the population, and I was really shocked when I heard that. So, you know, even if we can make that 2% change to 10%, that will probably save so many lives, and that's easy to do, right? So anyone can do it. And exactly like what you said, put yourself in my shoes, or there are so many, not just children, but adults that need this. And it's just, like I said, it's in everyone's hands. We're a community, and we can build a better future for people. We can help get rid of some of the all the bad things that are going on in the world. This is something that can be changed. So, you know, I think it's time to kind of make a change on something, and this is an easy way to save lives. So if you're going to do something, do this, please.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. How about you, Darshan, as well? What's your message to people out there?
I think that the key thing I would say, it's an opportunity to save people's lives. Like as Kirpa said, there's so many conditions out there where people are needing transplants. All it takes is a swab kit, and you never know. You may be called up, or it might provide hope, and also a donor for a person needing a transplant. It's really important, and I guess it's in all of our hands. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Why, very both of you, and I just want to say thank you for coming on as well. It's been a pleasure speaking to you both and learning something myself from hearing your experiences and what you're going through and so on. And I'm pretty sure people out there will also take something and give it a second thought and think, yeah, it's time for me to do this. And one last thing I wanted to ask you as well is that I always think in instances like this, it's always great to get some sort of celebrity, apart from me, of course, on board to help promote this message and get it out there. Have you had any kind of like people approach you, any of the celebs out there, to help raise the awareness of this cause?
Sorry, I lost you there. Yes, we've had Dev Patel, who's an actor also from Harrow. The famous Dev Patel has done a video sharing Veer's story and kind of raising the issue. There's Al Murray, whose nephew also needed a stem cell transplant like Veer. So he's also been doing lots of publicity on this. And we've had Navin Kundra, who's helped us with Veer's Virtual Extravaganza, who did an amazing performance and has helped sharing the message for us as well. So we've had lots of celebrity input, and more of that would be amazing to kind of share our messages further.
And just as a last final fun question, which celebrity would you like to get on board to help spread this message?
Well, Amit, it's going to have to be you, right? You're going to do what you can to help us.
I love it when people butter me up. I love it. No, go for it. Real celebrity, not semi-celebrity, pretend celebrity like me.
Oh, well, do you know what? I think any Asian celebrity, anyone listening to this who can just increase the reach and just try and do something, use your celebrity powers to do something to kind of create more of a movement here would be really beneficial. I mean, I can't pinpoint one celebrity that would, but yeah.
Let's tag a few Bollywood celebs in this video and just see what happens. See if any of them pick up on it.
Ah, that would be amazing.
Who knows? We'll just
try. That would be brilliant.
And they'll just be like spamming me. Get away. Well, we can only try.
Yes, that would be really good.
It's been a pleasure having you on board. And for anyone watching right now, just a reminder that we'll update the video with all the links, with all the information and stuff that you need as well. If you want to register to become a stem cell donor, it's so easy to do. And of course, how to reach out to Kirpa and family and show any support as well that you want to, or just donate to any of the charities as well that are supporting people like Kirpa and families like hers who are all going through the same sort of thing. So I'll be updating that all shortly. And if you've just joined at the end and you want to kind of catch up and you want to listen on your phone, it will be on the podcast platform soon as well, and on all the platforms. And I just want to say thank you to you both for coming on board and being so brave and sharing your stories. And let's keep getting this message out there.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
Have a beautiful Friday, guys. Take it easy, okay? And give my love to your family.
Have a good weekend.
Cool. Enjoy.
Stay online with me, by the way.
Okay.
I'll end the live. Goodbye, everyone. Welcome to the Feel Inspired podcast. And should I say farewell from the Feel Inspired podcast? Have a beautiful weekend. Take care. Bye.